Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden. It is a beautiful winter day here today here in California. We have had really great weather the last couple days, but we are having a big rainstorm come later on this week and I will be stuck inside. And I'm sure a lot of you are stuck inside because of the freeze, because of snow, because of rain, whatever it is. It's that time of year when us gardeners are, we're a little bit on edge because we like being out in our gardens and getting inspiration from our gardens, and it's kind of hard with the weather. So one of the things I like to do this time of year is go inside, cozy up, light a candle and watch some inspirational gardening content. I don't know. I was trying to figure out a way to describe the things that I'm watching. There some of them are series, some of them are documentaries, some of them are shows. There's all these things that you can call it, but basically it's gardening content to give us a little bit of inspiration during this time of year when maybe we can't get out in the garden as much as we like to. And I am constantly Googling and searching online, trying to find new documentaries, new shows to inspire me. And so I figured I would share 5 of my favorite with all of you so that when you're inside during the winter, you can get a little bit of inspiration as well. Now, one thing that I do want to say is the ones that I'm talking about today are a little bit more off the beaten path. We all know Gardener's World, Monty Don. We love Monty. I named my dog after Monty Don. We all love Monty Don and Gardener's World, but we all know Gardener's World. What a boring video if I, sat up here and told you guys about Gardener's World. So it's kind of not like that. And then there's some really famous documentaries that, gardening documentaries that are just absolutely fantastic that I didn't include in my list because I wanted them to be a little bit more unique and hopefully some gardening content that you all have not heard of before. Now, I do have to say, I just subscribed to BritBox, which is the BBC app where you can watch all the BBC television on a streaming service, and it's fantastic. I'm loving it so much because I can watch every single episode of Gardener's World that there ever was. And there's so many of them. So that's been really, really fun. And a couple of these shows are actually on BritBox as well. A lot of the shows that I'm going to talk about are old. They're very, very old, and they're really, really hard to find. And a lot of them I have found on YouTube, just kind of searching the depths of YouTube, but it's kind of a little bit difficult to find these, so you just got to kind of search a little bit. I'll try and put as many links as I can, but some of the links might not work after a while, because when things get put on YouTube, there's copyright issues and all that kind of stuff, and I completely understand. And if there was a way that I could purchase some of these shows or series and have them for myself, I absolutely would, because they're just so inspirational and I know I'm going to watch them over and over again every winter, probably from now on. So anyway, let me get into it. Some wonderful gardening content that you all can watch this winter season. And the first one I've talked about before. I've talked a lot about before because it was so incredibly inspirational when I watched it. And that is the BBC's Victorian Garden Trilogy. And it's just fantastic. It's just such a good show. Now, it's from 1987. That's when the first one came out. It's a 3-part series: the Victorian kitchen garden, the Victorian flower garden, which was my favorite, and then the wartime garden. And man, you guys, if you haven't watched this, stop this video and go watch it because it's so good. It's not, it's kind of educational, but it's way more inspirational. And it basically is a series that took us through and showed us how the Victorian era gardeners gardened. And it's just so incredibly interesting how they used greenhouses, how they used bedding plants, annuals to create these incredible mosaic gardens in their yards, that looked like paintings that they basically made out of plants. Like it's just so incredible. And it blows my mind to think, because they really didn't have power augers, to plant all these bedding plants. They did them by hand, and they didn't have a sprinkler system. To me, it was just so amazing and so inspirational. And it was fun to watch to see the history of gardening. So the Victorian kitchen garden is, of course, about vegetable gardening and how they grew things to eat. Victorian flower garden. We all know that Victorians were really big into flowers, and they had the language of flowers, which was so much fun. And then, of course, the wartime garden. So I ended up watching this series on YouTube. Please let us know in the comment section down below if you know a better place to find it. This series is not on BritBox. I looked and I was hoping it was on BritBox, but it wasn't. But you can find it on YouTube. And I also want to say that if any of you have documentaries or shows that inspire you in the garden, I would love for you guys to put them in the comment section down below. One of you wrote and recommended me to watch the Descanso Garden documentary, which is a garden down in La Cañada, Flint Ridge in Southern California. That was a great documentary. I don't know why, that just crossed my mind. I should have put that on my list, but I didn't. But that was a great documentary too, and that was recommended to me by one of you. So please put your recommendations in the comment section down below. But the Victorian Garden Trilogy, it was fantastic. I absolutely loved it, and I hope you all can find it and can watch it. All right, the next one is much easier to find. It is on Amazon. Amazon Prime, it's free for Amazon Prime members. If you're not an Amazon Prime member, rent this on Amazon because it is worth it. It is called The Gardener. It is a documentary from 2018. This was recommended to me by my mom. Great recommendation. And it follows Frank Cabot and his Le Quatre Vents garden. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right, but it's basically a garden based in Quebec, Canada. Beautiful, beautiful, such an inspiring garden that Frank Cabot created over his lifetime. And he just did such a fabulous, fabulous job. And, it kind of shows the development of this garden over his lifetime and then sharing it with the public. And the public actually was able to go see this beautiful garden. And the cool thing is that, he was a wealthy man and he had a lot of money to spend. He installed this Japanese tea house in his Japanese garden, and the way he talks about it, it's not uppity. It's not, it's just very matter of fact that he loves gardening and he wanted to spend his money on his garden. And it was just so inspiring. It's such a lovely documentary, beautiful cinematography. And I remember I watched it last winter and I just wanted to run out into my garden and do all the things. So it's just his lifelong work in the garden. It's a beautiful documentary and I definitely recommend you all to watch it. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this one. It was pretty popular when it first came out, but it's just such a good one. All right, moving on to the next series that I wanted to talk about that is a little bit more off the beaten path. And this is actually the series that inspired this video because it's so weird. It's so odd. But basically, I recommended this series to Michael Glassman, my friend Michael, and he absolutely loved it. And so I just knew I had to share it with all of you. My family and I, we also subscribe to Hallmark Plus for streaming to watch like Christmas movies, and all that type of stuff. My daughters, Sadie and Shay, are 10 and 12, so Hallmark is perfect for them to watch. And Hallmark has a side of it for mysteries, right? Murder mysteries and things like that. And so we started getting really into the Hallmark mysteries. And one of the shows on the Hallmark mysteries was the show called Rosemary and Thyme. And Rosemary and Thyme it's from 2003. And it's this series that follows two gardeners, two landscape designer women based out of England. And they, of course, as in all murder mysteries, happen to come across these mysteries like every episode, which is so funny. But the coolest thing about this show, the most fun thing about this show, is all of the mysteries revolve around the garden. Whether it's, like there's clues that someone put in their old derelict garden that the gardeners are recovering, or someone was poisoned by this really unique and rare plant. One of the characters is a botanist, I think horticulturist or something like that. So she knows all the scientific side of gardening, and it's just so much fun. It's so fun and it's so inspiring. And as a gardener, I'm watching the show waiting to see if they screw up with the gardening content, with the plant content and all that kind of stuff. And they don't. They do such a good job, and it's so true. And you know, like the names of the plants and all this kind of stuff. It's just such a fun show to watch. So this one is available, of course, on Hallmark, and it's also available on BritBox as well. So a really fun show to watch. You know, a little bit gardening adjacent, but it is still very inspiring. I absolutely loved it. Okay, so the next series I wanted to share with all of you was so lovely to watch. I enjoyed it so much, and it is called Gardens of the World with Audrey Hepburn. Yes, Audrey Hepburn. It's from 1993, so I don't know if you all knew about this show that Audrey Hepburn hosted about gardening, and I mean, who doesn't love Audrey Hepburn and her voice? Just hearing her voice narrate this show about gardening was just so lovely and so beautiful. They had a bunch of different episodes, from roses to spring bulbs to formal gardens to tropical gardens, public gardens. It was a beautiful show. I found it on YouTube. I don't think it was on, I looked for it on BritBox. It wasn't on BritBox. Again, these are really old. They're 30 years old. You know, it's hard to find it, but you guys can find it if you look for it. Again, look on YouTube. And it's just so inspiring and so lovely. And again, it's not about, you know, there's a lot of content, including my content on YouTube, that's about teaching about gardening. And I love teaching about gardening and, you know, learning about different aspects of gardening. But a lot of these is just gardening inspiration. And I feel like that's what Audrey Hepburn's show did. It just inspired all of us. The rose episode was beautiful and so inspiring and so wonderful. I mean, imagine Audrey Hepburn talking about roses. It's just gorgeous. So that was called Gardens of the World with Audrey Hepburn. Absolutely lovely. And then the last series that I wanted to share with all of you, and like I said, there are so many more. I had a lot on my list and I cut a lot of them off because I didn't want to, you know, have too many of them, but we'll put them all in the comment section if we have more. So definitely check the comments. But the last one is another series. It's a 4-part series and it's called British Gardens in Thyme. And yes, I know this whole list is very British heavy. I know, but they make really good gardening content. It's just lovely gardening content. So this series is from 2014 and it goes around to 4 of the most iconic British gardens, from Great Dixter to Stowe to a Victorian garden called Biddulph Grange, and then Nyman's as well. And the Great Dixter one, for those of you who know, this is my long border over here, over on that side of my garden. That is, I'm trying to develop it into the perennial long border at Great Dixter. It's just one of those gardens that I want to go to so badly. So it's always really fun to see any type of content or documentary or show on these famous gardens. So Great Dixter was great. Stowe was wonderful. All of them were really great. But it was just so fun to kind of see, and the shows kind of went through and showed how these gardens developed over time and with culture and with the changing times, you know, with the war and all that kind of stuff. So it was just great. It was just absolutely fantastic. So anyway, that is it for the content. Again, what do I call it? The gardening content that I hope can inspire you over this winter season. Again, there are so many lovely things. If you have never watched Gardener's World, again, please stop watching this and go watch an episode of Gardener's World, because it's one of the most inspiring things. If I'm ever having a bad day, or I don't know, I feel like I just am missing that spark that I need for gardening, I will just turn on Monty and I'll just listen to him talk. Like, I won't even watch the show, which I love watching it, right? Because it's beautiful cinematography, but just listening to him talk is absolutely incredible. So that's always one that if you haven't watched that, go watch that right now. He also has a lot of really fun shows, like quick 30-minute shows where he like makes over a bunch of gardens that I've watched all the time, all that fun stuff. And then of course, all the wonderful YouTube content. You know, the YouTube gardeners are they're just wonderful. But hopefully these 5 are kind of off the beaten path. You haven't really heard of them, and hopefully it'll give you something to watch and inspire you this winter season. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.